Wow.
It's actually predominant. Those who actually can have the acreage to run buffalo are not that many. So they're in smaller pastures, which are being subsidized by chemically treated hay and just straight hay. That was another issue. They were saying, well, if we're going to do grass-fed, then if you're going to feed hay to subsidize, then it's got to be grass hay and it can't be chemically treated. Well, where are you going to buy non-chemically treated hay? Here at Sacred Ground, we go out and we literally hay our grasslands. So that we're literally using the very grass that they would ordinarily be eating. So we're unique in that we stepped out and we did it that way. These large ranchers that are doing it for commercially, I mean, that is how they're making their living. They're not being subsidized by donations and other projects. But again, I do believe that we can do it better. Throughout the industry, they're being fed, buffalo are being fed all kinds of things, much like cattle. They're being treated like cattle. And I don't mind stepping out and saying that. I really do want to promote the industry because buffalo, truly, we know that the enzymes in buffalo meat actually complement the enzymatic system of the human being. And I've always felt that the buffalo was put here to feed the people, body, mind, and spirit, but here was an animal that came specifically to feed, the people. And as a result, the creator, or just genetically or evolutionarily, this animal is designed, it complements the human system, whereas actually beef and other meats do not.
Wow, I don't think many people know that. I'm interested, why do so many ranchers use the cattle system? Is it because they don't have enough land? Is it like what are the reason behind their decision?
Much of it comes from the buffalo industry really started to come back alive in the United States in the 80s, and they had no other role model. There was nothing else out there. Nobody was talking about it. And they had no other system, no other guidance but to go to, well, how does this affect a cow? Well, then we'll try that on a buffalo. There was no standard. There was no one had gone before. So this is really uncharted territory. And then suddenly when it took off, and I mean the buffalo industry took off, it ran for a few years, and people it was all breeder stock. And they were having trophy shows and the biggest, baddest buffalo you could raise and you could breed, and they started breeding them to look more like beef and to have bigger hind quarters and to offer more meat. But the industry was kept alive and thriving on the breeder stock. And they all knew that breeder stock, people were spending $30,000-$40,000 on one animal, and to buy a pregnant cow, was $3,500 to $4,000. And, I mean, it was just outrageous, the cost of what buffalo were. And this is when I got into it, when people were donating me their babies. And I just thought, whoa, holy macaroni. And people were thriving, and the industry grew, and very wealthy people started the big old buffalo ranches all on breeder stock. And then the bottom falls out of breeder stock because they only need so much breeder stock. And then after that, it gets into, what are you going to do with all these buffalo that you've got now? And thus, they really, really turned the attention around, and the market really fell off horribly. And they knew they had to turn their attention around to educating the American people to the value of eating buffalo. And that has been the campaign for the last 10 years, and it definitely is taking ground. But I think it's because it's the way Grandpa did it. There was no other way to do it. Nobody was showing a different way of doing it. They followed suit, and within the cattle industry, you raise your calves, you take them to fall in the market, you drop them off at the local feed lot, and you walk away with your check, and you're done. And they started doing the same thing with buffalo. They started dropping them off at buffalo co-ops, they were called, and walking away with their check. And that was nice. But in the buffalo industry, anything this new, and for me, the buffalo, and not to say that the beef isn't. I mean, every animal in our in our industry that is being raised for food in America is being treated without the respect, without the honoring that its life, its individual life is sacred. But today I speak to the buffalo because they are what I am about, and I'm using their platform to address, the whole of the industries and the production industries. But I think it was naive, and like I said, the first time I've seen a hint that the buffalo growers themselves are truly unhappy where they would actually say so was this January. And there is a rumble. They are unhappy with the industry. They are trying to find another way. They were very excited to learn about the buffalo hunt. I don't think very many of them thought that they could take on the exact protocol, but they wanted to look at what it would take for them to do more hunts, perhaps. And I also started something else because at the point of harvest in the slaughter plants, they're throwing the buffalo away. They're throwing all the buffalo away except for the meat itself. And when I learned that, I didn't realize how rampant it was across America. The landfills are full of buffalo. And it just reminds me of the old days of throwing away the buffalo. And to me, the buffalo is such a sacred and such an important animal, especially at this time, for our food industry, etc. But they're such a sacred animal, and to see them thrown away. So I didn't know how to get the attention. I knew if I crawled on a soapbox and talked about it, nobody would listen to me again. So I started another company. It's called Native Vogue, and nativevogue.com. You can go. And I took the buffalo horns. I now go and I collect the buffalo horns that would be thrown away, and I make very beautiful, high-end buffalo horn and sterling silver jewelry. And I'm now talking more about what can be done with the buffalo horns. We've done the same there are a couple of men who have really taken this on for the industry's sake now. They go out and 20 below at the slaughter plants at the point of slaughtering, and as the hides come out, they're actually shearing them, and they're getting that winter wool, and then they ship it to me, and I'm making yarn, and I'm weaving beautiful, beautiful blankets, and we'll go on to make more and other things. The whole purpose behind this was to have a platform to stand on to say, see what we can be doing here with the byproducts of the buffalo. Let's stop throwing the buffalo away. You use the wool of the sheep. Let's use the wool of the buffalo. Let's use the hides of the buffalo. It's still very expensive because nobody's doing that much tanning. There's no place to send the byproducts. Nobody's doing anything with them. So the ranchers are all taking a look at each other and going, well, I said, well, we're going to have to start the industry ourselves. Let's, again, encourage more people to get into the uses of these raw materials, so we have a place to send these raw materials so that the buffalo can continue to be honored. And I'm a strong believer that the spirit of the buffalo lives on through every part of the buffalo. And if you have a piece of buffalo jewelry, or if you have buffalo wool, or if you have something made from buffalo, or if you're ingesting the spirit of the buffalo, you're taking on the attributes of that animal. And I can't think of a finer animal role model for our country than the buffalo right now, to be ingested, to be worn, to be draped in your home, etc.
Wow, that's beautiful, Tana. Would you mind giving our listeners your website so that people know how they can find out more about Sacred Grounds International, and again, giving the Native Vogue website?
It's Sacred Ground, singular, Sacred Ground International. It's sacredgroundintl.org, O-R-G, and we can be called at area code 406-245-6070. And Native Vogue is just as it sounds, NATIVEVOGUE.com is the website for Native Vogue, where you can come and learn more about the products and